We're here today to talk about where we're headed for education. One of our issues is how do we get students to increase engagement? This issue will discuss parents and parenting. It is not going to be a soft conversation. We're not here to soften up the message so it's not to offend. So please be prepared for that. We're here to get to some answers, to some bottom lines, to make sure that we're giving a message that is going to be pliable, applicable, something that we can work with, something we can use to solve some problems. If you're here, you agree that we have problems. If you're here, you agree that there needs to be something done about our educational system and our situation. We're not achieving as we should. In 2018, there was a study that said that 774 million people were still not functioning with literacy, adults. Still were illiterate. And that were in poor countries. Focused in 15 countries who were considered poor. Now, in wealthier countries, students are still graduating without what they believe they need to be a functional adult. Now let's talk about that. We all have the same curriculum, and we do. If we all have the same testing standards, and we do. We all have a governmental standard that says no child left behind, which has been in place since I would say 2012, 2008, somewhere in that neighborhood, and we still do. So in economics, we said that if all things are held equal, if the playing field is level. Now, let's add to that. There's nothing that money can add to the brain. We cannot infuse anything to make you smarter, to make you more intelligent, to get you anything that's additional. We can't add anything to your brain to do that, right? So all things clearly are equal. The difference is going to be what happens when you sit in the classroom. Let's consider that. Let's consider the seat in the classroom. With the same book, the same testing standards, the same curriculum, the same educational standards from the government, no child left behind. Let's talk about it. What makes the difference? Now, there's going to be a lot of arguments, a lot of patterns of thought. There's going to be a lot of people who have an opinion. But let's look at a few facts first. Number one, again, we have the same curriculum. Why do I keep repeating that? Well, we'll just use math as an example. Math hasn't changed since it was created. The Pythagorean theorem has not gone under any type of revision. No revisions are underway. E equals MC squared hasn't changed. The area of a triangle hasn't changed. Perimeter hasn't changed. Surface area hasn't changed. Volume of any of those elements have not changed. Yet we still struggle every single year with getting students to be able to solve an equation, and the steps have not changed. So I want to offer to you this. There's going to be people who argue that it's zip code. That is the teacher. That is the student. That is the home life. That is what they ate for breakfast, lunch, dinner last night, the backpack that they carry, the car that they do or don't drive, the friends that they have. But I'm going to bring it all the way down to the parent. The education is there. It's right there. Nobody says that today the school shut down and we just use crayons and coloring books and we didn't attempt education. Nobody has said that. Nobody has said that all the teachers stood outside and the kids walked in by themselves, so we didn't get an opportunity to learn. Nobody said that. So if those two things had happened, you're telling me that beyond a shadow of a doubt, education has been offered every single day in every single classroom on every single campus, then why are some campuses an A and some campuses an F in the same city, sometimes even in the same zip code? So I'll tell you a little story. When I consider my personal upbringing, I was going to school in a middle to low performance school district at a probably middle to low performance school. I didn't find any issue with it because, of course, I was smart. I pushed the teacher. I was called what I call now a pace setter. I wanted us to move at my pace. When I was done and got my 100, I wanted us to move on. And we were checking for accuracy, not completion. Brag much? No. But this situation, education, caused me to reflect. It caused me a moment to need to reflect about what is it that we are working with and what is it that we have to be able to do. So when I look at my personal educational journey, I have to look back and go, what made the difference? So I'm not a great example by any stretch of the imagination because I don't have what I propose we should have to make an environment work. And so it comes down to two things. Intrinsic motivation, that's my story. And parenting, that's my other story. This is part A, intrinsic. And part B, the me I was to my kids. The bottom line is that a kid has to want it. They have to be the person who intakes the information. They have to be the one who applies the information, retains the information, regurgitates the information on an exam or worksheet or in conversation or wherever. They have to do the work. That's true. They have to know that, and they have to make the connection that if I don't like my home life, if I want better than, my first way out of my situation is an education. Because if I look at my parents and say, what don't you have that might help us get where we need to be? And we come up with education, I'm all in. If you look at your parents and say, well, they only had a 6th grade and an 8th grade education, I'm in 10th grade, then that means I might want to press forward harder. I'm already doing something they didn't do. So now that means I need to do more of what it is I'm doing so that we can go forward and make it happen. So what about that? How do we make that happen? How do we move forward? Well, as a parent, you have to open up that dialogue. Listen, I need you to make this happen. I need this to be a priority. I need this to be a thing. In addition to that, I need you to also say to your students, I need you to do your work to the very best of your ability. And when you can't, I need you to do this right here. Raise your hand. That gets the teacher's attention. And when you can't raise your hand, that phone I bought you, I need to take a picture of it. Take that picture, email your teacher and ask them for some help. And when they get that question via email, they're going to use that to throw the problem on the board and help you work it out. You're the only one who has questions, and your question may stimulate other kids to have questions, and now we have questions being asked. Woo! That's a celebration. That's something the teacher can get behind. Promise. But they've got to want it. And as a parent, you got to be their stimuli. As a parent, I told my kids, I said, I'm not ever going to take your phone, but it won't be an iPhone. What? I said, you'll take one of these Samsungs I use, and you'll use a Samsung, because if I need to call you for something, and that phone rings in my purse, now I'm upset more than one time. Uh-oh. We don't want that for any reason, right? Parents have to be the stimuli. You're a partner. You and the teachers are partnership. When the teacher calls a parent, the teacher's expecting the parent to say something or do something to the kid, to tell the kid your behavior, your activity, and your outcomes need to be different tomorrow from tomorrow on. If you and the teacher, if you and the kid have the same behavior, then the teacher is nowhere. You're going to get exactly what you've earned. Don't ever expect any help. You'll get the average you've earned, and that's it. You don't want to depend on the teacher, get your best average. It's plain and simple as that. But you're the parent. There should be some stimuli that you can give to your kid that says, hey kid, let's get about our business. Let's make this happen. Let's make this work. You should be able to tell your kids, hey kids, let's go. Let's make this happen. This is what we're here for. You as a parent have to tell your kid it is okay for you to be smart. It is required for you to be educated. It is what I desire for you. I want you to test the power of those words out at your home. Again, let me say it one more time. It is okay. You are permitted. You have my encouragement to be the smartest person you can be. You are not going to make me feel bad if you are smarter than me. It is required for you to get a better education than me. They don't know they need it. They feel like they can get by on the same thing you got by on, and that is not okay. That's not actually even true. And the reason they believe that is because they see it from a closed lens, a very small shutter. But if they were to use the lens you have, a wider, bigger, broader lens, they know I need to go get this education because I don't want to be in this situation 10, 12, 14 years from now. I encourage every person that I educate, pass by a discipline coach, I tell them, I said, let me tell you something. I really don't care what the data shows is related to learning and liking the person you learn from, or we got to apply it to coax them in, and we're dressing it up. We're dressing up what's required. And here's the problem with dressing up what's required. At the end of the game, when they have a 70, guess what's going to happen? They got it. And it was gifted to them. But on the other side of that, we know that there's a portion of the population that do not compete in regular life. You're that poor community, the under and uneducated community. We made decisions for you and you don't have a seat at the table. And are you okay with that? Is there something about that that is okay? I tell kids every day, all the time, you are going to see this again. Really don't care how you feel about it. These are the facts. You're going to see this again. Why do I know that? Because I got 2 kids. I've taken geometry 3 times. Me, them, 2 of them. 1 plus 2 is 3. 1 for me, 1 for her, 1 for him, 3 times. Now, I didn't do the work, but I watched over that work. Let me see your homework. That's wrong. So you did that wrong. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's a good job. Oh, I like how you thought about that. Let me tell you about a little 2nd grader that I love. Pieces and whole. I walk into a parent conference. I love elementary places because in elementary school, they do daytime parent conferences. They do stretch your commitment. But those parents who come to those conferences in the daytime, they are committed. Those are committed parents. But in those committed parents, you got to know that that's who your base is. Those are those parents. That's who your base is. That's who you can count on. That's who you can ask for school supplies from. Those are people you can count on to call on the phone. So you come do the Valentine's Day class. That's a room mom list. All that. That's who coming to your rescue. That's coming to your aid. They on the way. But anyway, I digress. We're at the parent conference and the teacher was walking through his test and she says, oh my gosh, I really like how he handled this number line. The thought process is really great. He really has a good understanding of the number line. And I go, and I'm getting excited and more excited. And then she pauses. And then she looks at me very pensively. And then she goes, you're a high school math teacher. And I got really super excited. I am. And she goes, let's talk. And I go, oh gosh, what has he done? I said, yes, ma'am. And she goes, well, I was teaching class and I said there were no negative numbers. And he said, yes, there are. I go, and then she says, then I said, she calls him by name and she says, no, they're not. And then he says, yes, there are. And she goes, again, Nehemiah, no, they're not. And then he looks up and he stops his pencil from moving. Because to this point, he's not looked up at her yet, according to this demonstration. And he says, well, there are in my mother's classroom. In his life, that's the gauntlet. That's boom. I've thrown down my ace of spades. My poker game's been won. I'm all in. I won. I won. You don't have a comeback for that. You can't. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And I know my mommy is not wrong. Period. But in second grade, we lie. We lie to kids. And math, for sure. But here's what that said to me. He was watching. Here's what it said to her. And what I said to her was, at the first one, you're supposed to take him outside. And y'all need to have a conversation. You get on one knee, look at him eye to eye and say, look, don't expose my secrets. That was a secret. Where'd you learn that from? Tell me what you know. Because she's going to have that problem over and over and over and over and over again. But I did also promise him I wouldn't teach ahead. I wasn't conscious of what he'd seen in my classroom. I didn't know he was listening. I didn't consciously teach that directly to him. But I guarantee you when he got to geometry, algebra 1, algebra 2, he was more than ready. So was my daughter. They could bring their homework to me with confidence because they knew I had them. They knew what kind of student I was, as a matter of fact, so I could prove it up. And if I was ready, I prepared for all the fights because I went and got my high school transcripts and said, I'm going to keep this on deck and I keep it on the ready. I keep it nearby. So that we have a fight and you decide to tell me, well, what grade did you get, pal? Let me show you this A, B. Here you go. Stay ready. So that I was prepared. And at whatever level we had to discuss it, I was ready to have that argument. I was ready to have that conversation. I was ready to tell my kids toe to toe, 10 toes in, we're going to get this education. I really don't care how you feel about it. My daughter's still trying to get out of her college degree, but guess what I told her? I said, I don't care what you do with it. But I know my daughter, one day you're going to wake up. You're going to decide, I want to be a rocket scientist. And you're going to need that bachelor's degree. Whatever is required in this world, we keep moving the goal. We keep moving the standard. There are things that only require a high school diploma, but it says requirements bachelor's degree because we moved the standard. Things that should have only required a bachelor's degree now require a master's because we're trying to clear the playing field. We're only letting certain people in the room, but by degree, it's time to siphon those people out. And so because of that, I want her to wake up that morning and go, I got that already. I can just go right ahead and get started, draw my name in the hat and be really, really considered today. She doesn't have to wait to get it and then get discouraged. But that's what parenting does. Parenting makes sure when you throw your hat in the ring, you're available, able, and qualified to do what you want to do. I can't rewind time for you. But I can, as a parent, help you use your time wisely so you can prepare when you wake up and decide, I want to do what I want to do. Remember the movie Legally Blonde, too? And she says, I want to be a law student. She was chasing a boy across the country. And the man in the interview room says, it looks like she just woke up one day and says, I think I'll go to law school. As that was exactly how it was. Well, guess what? She was prepared. She did have to study for the LSAT exams. She did. But everything she had done up until that point led her to that. Was it realistic? Probably not. Would she have gotten into real Harvard? Maybe not. But the key phrase in it was that he said, it looks like she woke up one day and said, I think I'll go to law school, which is exactly what happened. And how many of our kids are not prepared to wake up one day and go, I think I want to go do blank. And they are not prepared. They can't make it. They can't get in. They can't get in the room because they don't have what is required of them. So I told mom, I said, I don't really care if you walk dogs or you can be the greeter at Walmart. I don't care what you do. But when you wake up one morning and decide I want to do this and the requirements of a bachelor's degree in something, you'll be prepared. I'm going to stick to my guns on that. I'm going to stick to my word. I'm not letting you up off the mat. And I'm going to make sure you do it. Because for me, that's critical. That's critical. That's the difference. She walked through every grade level saying to herself, I don't have a choice. My mother is going to stand right there and hold me accountable. She knew it every time. My mother is not going to let this slide. My mother's not going to be okay. My mother's not. But at the converse of that, she could also say, my mother's going to be very proud of me. My mother's going to be super ecstatic. I can't wait to show this grade to my mother because, she's going to be excited. And I didn't hang him out to dry. I never said I can't help you with your homework. If I couldn't help you, I had a tutor on standby. There's YouTube, there's Khan Academy, there's in-person, there's free, there's a fee. I could do it all. Because I made up in my mind that I was going to put out some productive citizens in this world. They were never going to feel underprepared for what it is that they were called or desired to do. I was going to stand right here in that spot for them. I couldn't count on them to have teachers like me. They were going to make their dreams come alive. They were going to change the trajectory of their life. They were going to help them affirm who they were. I couldn't count on it. I had to be that person myself. Now, along the way, they did have those people. Miss Nichols and Miss Washington. They did have those people. They definitely had them. Miss Paz. Her counselor, Miss Childs, she did have those people. But what I can say for certain, for sure, was that of those things that were to be done for her, I did not want her to ever be confused about why this was important. And neither for him. As parents, we got to know when to show up. We got to know what to do when we show up. And we got to know sometimes we got to show out. But the person we got to show out with first is our own. Our child. Your child is the key every time.